Greetings to everyone. Complimentary greetings once again. Welcome to Black Hyacinth, your systematic trading partner. If you've been watching the videos, you know that this is one of the anticipated videos for this month, where I'm just going to be discussing the trading mentality that I plan to employ this year. But if this is the first video that you're coming across, that's also fine. You can also work your way backwards, based on interest with the other videos or what you want to find out and so on. So it's perfectly fine if you're seeing us for the first time. What's important is that you stick with me as I make my case for what psychology I plan to apply this year, to make sure that I walk out with a win at the end of 2025. So when I started trading psychology was a very, straightforward type of thing, but now I see that it's developed to the point that it's relatively subjective. Trading psychology theory doesn't work. It's not a one size fits all. It's different strokes for different folks. So I'm just sharing my idea, and I'll try to do that in a systematic way, so that maybe I will give you some insight on how to start your asking the right questions in order for you to come up with a trading mentality or trading psychology framework that works for you, right? So today, what I'm going to be discussing with you is a four-part loop that I use to always moderate my psychology towards successful trading, right? So it's a loop. So it doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end. It's like a second level. Yeah. So you don't really have to start anywhere or end anywhere. So I use this because my theory of good trading psychology is centered around always knowing what's happening. So I always need to know what I know, and I always need to know what I don't know. So you see now, what I always know my strengths, and my weaknesses. I always know the knowns and the unknowns. So that kind of, for me, delineates the corpus of information that I can use in order to reach a confluence for trades. So to open it, to manage the trade, and to close it. So for me, it's very important to always know what the hell is going on. So I use this loop to always understand where I am, which will show that should I pivot or persevere, should I pull out or should I move on to the next step, all that kind of thing. So trading psychology creates a lot of discomfort. In my opinion, it's because of not knowing certain things, right, about yourself. So if you are in a losing trade and you don't know what to think about, whether you does this mean you're losing your life savings? Does this mean that you're making dumb decisions? Does this mean that you don't know how to trade? You see, if all those questions, they flood your brain, that causes discomfort, and now it's going to challenge your psychology, and that's what we always need to work through. So I have a couple of years of trading, and being systematic always helps me, because then I can always answer the questions systematically, because the questions are coming from a systematic place. There's a lot of unknowns, and it's very clear what the unknowns are. So it makes things really, really much easier for me. So that's what I'm going to try and share with you today. So the four-part loop is made out of four parts. It's the problem, the theoretical solution, or the ideal solution, and then the barriers for you to get to that ideal solution that are coming from reality. So kokasi, it's when we say good, yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, so those kind of factors that keep you from reaching the real solution, the idealistic solution, the thing that will really solve your problem, whatever it may be. What are the barriers that are keeping you from attaining that solution? And then lastly is the mentality that you need in order to realize the solution through crushing through the barriers. So you see, it's a loop. So yeah, this loop helps me a lot. It's self-made, which is okay if you are a systematic person, because you're always writing things down so that you externalize, so that you can always look at things from outside of yourself. Also, if you go into actual psychology and you check, journaling or writing is a type of therapy that you can use. So we do journal as traders, but we journal our trading data. But now, if you go further and you journal your psychology. If it's something that you're struggling with, then so be it. I don't think that you will struggle getting some success at that. Yeah, I think that covers, just enough for you to stay with me as I take you through how I'm actually going through this loop for 2025. I have two problems, so I'm going to start with one, and then I'll move on to the next one, and then that should be, that should conclude our video. So, the first part of the loop is the problem. So my first problem is lack of funding. Yeah, this is in entrepreneurship what they call a barrier of entry or barrier to entry. So you might find that there's a market, there's buyers and sellers, and there's goods and services, but you know maybe the barrier to entry is that the buyers and the sellers can't find each other. So that means you need a broker. This is something that you understand very well as a trader. But yeah, it also comes through a lot in different types of economies and markets as well. So you will hear people saying, no, we've got the goods and we are willing to sell, but who am I supposed to sell to? So if you're sitting there, and you're trying to address the problem, in terms of business or economics, the note that you will make is that barrier to entry, lack of a broker to bring the buyers and the sellers together. So, lack of funding is the barrier to entry for a lot of traders around the world, not only in South Africa, a lot of traders around the world, and it's something that is always plaguing my mind. In the previous video, in the welcoming message to 2025, I spoke about how different traders can start building at different amounts of equity, and I tried at a level that was lower, that made sense for us as South Africans, you know but I came to learn that it's not really viable. So I had to bump the cheese up unwillingly and start thinking about building at a higher level. So now I need to adjust to that. So, and the truth is I don't have that money currently, and I need to raise it. So that's the problem. So it's either I need to find a way to raise it. So that's my problem. So that's the first part of the loop. Then the second part of the loop, remember, is the ideal situation or the theoretical solution. So problems are not difficult to solve, because if you have a problem, you know immediately what the solution is. What the problem is bringing the solution to life, making it a reality. So a lot of the times you don't get, like me, for example, there's a lack of funding. What do I need? I need money. I need funding. So I must just get money. Problem solved, right? But it's not that simple. So, and usually there's a compromise, there's some concessions, there's some negotiations, that kind of bring you as close as possible, as close as realistically possible to the theoretical solution. But nonetheless, you need to know what the solution is, because you need to operate in a state of abundance if you're a trader, which is something that we'll talk about later on. So my theoretical solution, right, is Uguti. Well, it's too implicit to say that I just need funding, but I need to be a top performer with a prop firm, right? Prop firm, for those that don't know, prop firm is those guys that give you money to trade after you've shown yourself approved to handle that amount of money, and then from your profits you guys take a profit split, and then it increases over time, and then they say you can take up to 90% of your profit. Yeah, so I've thought about that a lot. I did a demo challenge last year, end of last year. I passed, so I understand how they move. Then there's some restrictions on how you trade, losses and time limits and so on. So I need to be a top performer with a prop firm so that I'm able to make some money. In my previous video, I spoke about how this is an entry strategy. We chow via prop firm, we take the money and then we put XM, then we chow moving forward, without the restrictions, without the what now. right? Because trading with a prop firm is like having, so let's say you are in advertising, right? So you work for an advertising agency, you're an employee, right? So you kind of learn what advertising is about. Then 5 years later, you open your own uh, um, uh, uh, advertising agency, because from your salary you've been saving money and you've been taking information and knowledge, and now you can do your own thing. So us going back to XM is now us doing our own thing, but now we are kind of like looking for a job there by prop firm. So that's what I want to do. So that's the theoretical solution. That's the second part of the loop. And then the third one, the barriers from reality that are keeping me from being a top performer at a prop firm, is things that I'm worried about when it comes to prop firms. These things are putting me off, because the money to buy a challenge is not bad. We can afford that. That's fine. But now there's a dark side of prop firms. If you go and you look at reviews and you look at some honest reviews, apart from the influencers, there's a lot of things. So for me, there's two levels. There's two things, and they are on two different levels. The first level, you can deal with that. The first level is they give you a contract, and there's a lot of terms and conditions. With some prop firm, I heard if you don't trade with a stop loss, they don't allow you to cash out. And if you trade for 3 months doing a challenge, and then once you're done with evaluation and now it's time for profit splits, and then they say, no, chief, we're not paying out because you don't use stop loss. Then you're like, but then they say fine print or whatever. So that's a risk. Yeah, so these are two risks. I've just explained the first one. The second one is the one that's even more hazy. There's a lot of, hey, there's a lot of mist there. I just don't know what the hell is happening. Yeah, there's even more complicated things that they can apparently throw at you for you not to get the cash out. I think that's something to discuss on a whole new video, because I don't even understand that well as yet. What I'm focused on right now, which is immediately relevant to me, is understanding my contract so that I can work with these guys properly. But now there's another risk now that they say, well, they can throw all sorts of things at you, um, especially if you are working against the model that they're using. Guys, it's capitalism. Um, I heard this at a seminar once. It was actually at the X and Partners seminar, that the issue of abusing a broker is just to make sure that the business works. It's not a moral inspired thing. Uguti, no, you put in 100 rand, now it's NFP, now you've charged 20,000, so now I must pay you out, and then you're doing that every day to me, and then now how am I supposed to pay everybody else? And so colloquially, in simple human language, that's how the speaker at the seminar responded to how they characterize abusing a broker. It's when you start abusing their model. And then different brokers have different models. So if you're not happy here, then you can go to a model that makes you happy. It's just as simple as that. So the prop firm can also do something similar to that, because they play in the same space as brokers, right? Remember, brokers can give you credit and so on. So they also play in that same space. So if you start abusing their model of how you're supposed to, or how things are supposed to go, and you are an outlier outside of that model, yeah, they might tell you whatever that they like, so that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, but we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. So with risk management, high level, you have three options when you are dealing with risk. You can accept it, you can mitigate, or you can eliminate it. I'm not sure which of these three I'm going to apply to those two risks that I've articulated. I'm not sure yet, but I have to do one of the three. At this point, I'm accepting them, which is kind of the most costly option of risk management, because then you're just, when the train is coming to hit you, you say, good, sizobona. So luckily in this case, I'm not it's not a train that's coming at me. It's something that I can actually survive. So it's okay for now, but we'll see how it goes, and of course I'll keep you updated as we move along. And then now we've spoken about the problem, we've spoken about the solution, anticipated solution, theoretical solution, ideal solution, and the barriers from reality the things that are being thrown at you to keep you from attaining that solution that will actually solve the problem. Now, the fourth part of the four-part loop is the theme of today, is exactly what we're here for, which is the actual mentality, the psychology. So, when looking for funding, what is the mentality that you're supposed to have? Of course, you have to believe that there's some way that you will find funding. You don't have the money, but you need to believe that the money is out there in the world and you just need to attain it. There is a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. There's another way you can put it. But the way that I appreciate it is, Ruti, I need to exist in a state of abundance. My thinking has to be that there is ways to do this. And I'm a trader. I'm a good trader. I've got data to back it up. I've got witnesses. These witnesses not only know the good side of the data, but they also know the limits of the system that we're using. So everything is out in the open. I also am honest with myself. So that means the thing that is needed for me to get the funding, it's tick, right? It's there. So now all I need to believe is just to put myself out there and believe that I will find the money because it's there, right? So you need to be in a state of abundance. I have an abundance of information in my mind. That's the first one. So if I have an abundance of information that can change things, how can I not translate that abundance into funding or money? You know, if you are a person who likes these things of information and so on, the technical treatment thereof, you know that information is the same thing as energy. And energy is very similar to money. These things, if you like, it's a triangle. They're just mirror images of each other. They're like that, interchangeable, if you like. So if I have the abundance of information that allows me to be a good trader, all I need to do is to put myself out there and figure out how to translate that abundance to money. So even though I don't have the money, I must believe that it's there, or I already have it. Excuse me. I must believe that it's already there and I'll find it. And that's where I'm at. That's the mentality that I'm applying to the problem of lack of funding. So, in order for me to always understand what the hell is going on with me dealing with this problem of lack of funding, I'm always looking at these four parts: the problem, the solution, the barriers, and the mentality. So, whenever I feel stuck, I have to figure out in what I'm doing at this current moment in trying to secure that top performance spot at a prop firm. What is going wrong between these four? And I'm confident that whatever problem that I would have at that particular time would fall under one of these three, because the problem by default falls into the first one because it's problem. So now solution, barrier, and mentality. So I know what it will fall under one of these three. And once I figure that out, then I know, oh, okay, so maybe I'm feeling a bit not confident. Oh, okay, maybe I've moved away from believing that I can actually do this. So I need to look at this all over again. And yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'm really willing to do that. And I really believe that it will keep me calm and sane and sober. Yeah, all those words that mean that your brain is working properly, because I'll always know where I am and what I need to do, right? So nothing will be this humongous task of finding a needle in a haystack, right? And then now the second problem, I'm going to be much shorter on this because I think the understanding is quite clear now. So the second problem that I'm dealing with now is making consistent profits. And then the solution to that is to make sure that I trade profitably within the limits of the Black Hyacinth trading system and also that of the prop firm, right? And then and then the barrier to that being within what the Black Hyacinth system allows us to do when we're trading is at this current juncture, at the beginning of 2025 is that we only have data on paper. So we only have numbers. We've not translated the numbers into money. Yeah. So we have data that shows that the system has good analytical power, but we haven't made money with that analytical power yet. So it's a barrier because we haven't really, realized, the potential and the power of the system. So that's that's the barrier to making sure that we are going to, for at least in our first few tries, going to make sure that we trade within the profitable um, confines of the system, and also that of the prop firm, those of the prop firm. And you can imagine the mentality that you need to stay within something, the mentality that you need to transform something into another. It's self-discipline, right? Because if I have to break this pencil, it's a mechanical pencil. So if I have to break this pen in half, and for example, I don't know how to count, and I don't know English, and then somebody stands in front of me and says, "You need to break this pencil in half." Yeah, that's the task. Now I have to go back, sit down, and figure out what they said in English. Then I need to figure out what the half is. Maybe it's too hard for me to break, and now that means I have to go lift weights in order to break. All those things that I need to do. I don't wake up in the morning and then they do themselves. I have to channel time, energy, will into that, and that takes self-discipline. So the same thing. This is what we are trying to do here. It will never, man, it will never happen automatically, this thing, man. It needs us to lock in. We need to lock in and make sure that on a day-to-day, on a trading day-to-trading day basis, we make sure that we are hitting these targets that we have set for ourselves. And that's the automatic part of it. But it won't just happen. It will take a lot of effort. So the mentality that I need, the fourth part of the loop, is that I need the self-discipline in order for me to break the barriers and attain the theoretical solution, in order to make sure that I solve the problem of getting consistent profits. So I feel like the issue of consistent profits is secondary to the lack of funding. So I don't think we're really discussing two problems here. We just have one major problem of lack of funding. And then I just realized that I also need a psychological consciousness, or a psychological awareness of how we make sure that we get consistent profits on a daily basis, or weekly basis to a monthly basis. Because every day, at the end of the day, you're consolidating the data. At the end of every week, consolidation, and as well at the end of the month. And then you see, you need to be able to take in what the numbers are telling you at that time. So yeah, guys, that's the psychology, that I'm applying. I'm being systematic in order to maintain a certain mentality, which is just state of abundance and self-discipline, in order to solve the problem of lack of funding, which requires me to have consistent profits. And so feel free, guys, to ask me any questions, or to definitely use this 4-part loop, which is identifying the problem, the solution, the barriers, and the mentality. And this will always let you know where you are and how you need to figure out what you need to do, pivot, persevere, move forward, backwards. Because in these 4 parts, whatever problem that you come across in your trading that makes you psychologically or even emotionally uncomfortable, you will know whether it falls to that you need to figure out what the solution is, or you're dealing with the barriers, or you need to tweak your mentality. So yeah, guys, I hope that's helpful. I would really like to hear, for those that will use it, what it does for them. So feel free to give a comment below, and of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep this interactive. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a priest. This is not a church. So you're not here to listen to a sermon and leave. So yeah, I'm not your pastor, I'm your fellow trader. So let's talk to each other. That's how we get the best results. So looking forward to 2025 with vigor. I hope and believe we'll do well. So thanks for now. We'll talk some more. Stay well. Happy trading.